When I got to the mortuary, I knew there was a boy, the body of a boy there.
Watching Joseph Parker, I don't know what it was about it, but it just sort of spoke to me somehow.
How many people were killed, it's hard to say. It's such a shambles up there. One of them was a 14-year-old boy.
I didn't write the poem that night or that next night. It just grew on me and came out.
In Belfast this afternoon, as the streets were thronged with weekend shoppers, bombs exploded one after the other.
It was about 2:45 when we heard the first bomb go off, and for the next 3/4 of an hour, the city was rocked by explosion after explosion.
How many people were killed, it's hard to say. It's such a shambles up there. One of them was a 14-year-old boy, a messenger boy belonging to one of the shops.
So you think it's Stephen? Then I best make sure. Be on the safe side, as it were. It's interesting. It's very interesting that. I mean, as you say, you see, as we do every day, awful things on television, and people, parents, you know, loved ones have died and missing, and you tearing their hearts out and talking about it. And they're always moving, and you always feel distraught. But watching Joseph Parker, I don't know what it was about it, but it just sort of spoke to me somehow. His humility and his lack of hatred, his shock. And it was just, he was able to somehow, to me, dramatise something awful and drew me into it and didn't push me away from it. Ah, there's been a mistake. The hair, you see, it's black. Now Stephen's fair. What's that? The explosion. Of course, burnt black.
Let's have a look at the footage then.
Oh yeah.
See the original.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we go. So
When I got to the mortuary, I knew there was a boy, the body of a boy there, and I looked immediately for somebody with fair hair. And of course, I suppose somewhat relieved the hair was dark, but of course it was singed and burnt dark with the heat of the explosion. So I sort of immediately thought it's not Stephen, and then I looked quickly again and I recognized the shirt as similar to the one Stephen had been wearing, but again it had been affected by the explosion. Then I looked, and the belt was a scout belt. He was a scout. And a few days ago he'd put these studs all round his belt, and he stood there getting me to admire them, you know. As I said, he was very close conscious. And anyway, then I asked one of the men, would he look in the pockets, because I wanted to be absolutely sure. And anyway, he looked in the pocket, and he found this box of matches, the trick matches that Stephen had used the evening before to fool me. And I saw they had no proper maker's label on them, but I wanted to be sure again, you know, you cling on to everything. So I asked if anybody had a box of safety matches. The police were wonderful. They ran out and nobody had one there, and they found somebody on the road and came in, and I took one, and after I'd struck one like this first, and then I tried it on the other. Of course, then I knew it was Stephen. Surely, surely, in this lovely land which we all love so much, surely, and the people who the world speak of as being so charming, surely we can allow that love and that charm to touch each other. Surely now, I say to all tonight.
Oh, yeah. I can see why I wrote the poem, really, in a sense. It's so moving. And of course, I've forgotten he was a minister with the dog collar. And so very moving, and that detail, and ending up in that sort of forgiveness. It's almost certainly Stephen, but one must be sure. Remove all trace of doubt. Pull out every splinter of hope.
How does it compare to your memory of the original memory of sort of seeing it?
He, looking at there, he looks younger to me. I'd seen him as an old man, funny enough. I mean, in my memory, an older man, but that was younger in a sense. He would have been an older man, but looking at that now, I realise what a young man he was. Gosh, and Stephen. So it touched me, as it touched millions, of course. And I wanted the poem to do something similar, I suppose. So you think it's Stephen? Then I'll best make sure, be on the safe side, as it were. Ah, there's been a mistake. The hair, you see, it's black, now Stephen's fur. What's that? The explosion. Of course, burnt black. Silly of me, I should have known. Then let's get on. The face. Is that a face, I ask? That mask of charred wood, blistered, scarred, could that have been a child's face? The sweater, where intact, looks in fact all too familiar, but one must be sure. The scout belt. Yes, that's his. I recognise the studs he hammered in not a week ago. At the age when boys get close conscious now, you know. It's almost certainly Stephen. But one must be sure. Remove all trace of doubt. Pull out every splinter of hope. Pockets. Empty the pockets. Handkerchief? Could be any schoolboy's. Dirty enough. Cigarettes? Oh, this can't be Stephen. I don't allow him to smoke, you see. He wouldn't disobey me, not his father. But that's his penknife. That's his, all right. And that's his key on the key ring Gran gave him just the other night. So this must be him. I think I know what happened. About the cigarettes. No doubt he was minded them for one of the older boys. Yes, that's it. That's him. That's our Stephen. Remember I did a poetry reading. I forget where, but it was in Belfast, maybe at university, some years later. And part of the reading, I read the identification, talked about it. And afterwards, two young people, maybe in their 20s, 30s, maybe came up to me and said, Roger would like the poem. We were at school with Stephen. I said, ah. And they said, yes, we were friends of him at school. And, we just talked about the poem, and they talked about Stephen, wonderful boy. And they said, since then, the father and the family moved off to Canada. That was the first time I'd heard this, and which was touching in a way that, that life, it's not just history and someone there and now it's gone. No, it's still around everywhere.